Slocum's men moved cautiously through heavy woods. Barely 2 miles from where they started, they ran into advance units of George Anderson's Confederate division. It was noon, and the two sides had found the brawl they had been looking for. But Lee's decisive reaction to Hooker's campaign was paying off. Lafayette McLaws' division was now at hand.
We advanced and drove the enemy for nearly a mile when a commanding hill was reached and held. The enemy opened on us a well-directed fire of artillery and infantry. Many of the officers and men were under fire for the first time, and I feel it just to say that their steadiness and gallantry were remarkable. Major George Anderson, 17th United States Infantry.
Sykes' men were on high ground, a cleared ridge about 2 miles east of Chancellorsville.
Hooker's advance from Chancellorsville was running into unexpectedly...
My brigade was in nearly every great battle, but in none did I ever witness so many harrowing scenes as I did at Chancellorsville.
For any northern unit on that height, Hazel Grove would be a very deadly place. But if Hooker gave up Hazel Grove, he would allow Lee to reunite his divided army, and at the same time...
Union attempts to take the Confederate lines in back of Fredericksburg began early in the morning, and they fared no better than the attacks 5 months earlier.
There was no choice. He pulled out of Hazel Grove. And since his main line at Chancellorsville was also nothing more than a salient, he started making preparations for pulling out of there as well.
Confederate artillery swarmed atop the plateau at Hazel Grove. Southern infantry launched a massive assault, one of the largest of the war. Near Fairview, Rice Bull and thousands of other Federals saw the onslaught coming.
Looking down the line of our company as the yelling of the enemy came nearer and nearer to us, I judged that everyone felt about as I did. There was no levity now, and a great quiet prevailed. I could see pallor on every face. I believe every arm trembled as we raised our guns to our shoulders to fire, but all eyes were to the front. This was a testing time.
Dozens of Union guns roared to life from Fairview, ravaging the exposed Confederate lines.
The biggest tree afforded no protection from those cannons. One might as well have been in front as behind it. The limbs and the tops were falling about us as if torn by a cyclone. We were enveloped, as it were, in a dense fog. The flashing of guns could be seen only a few feet away. A fellow can't see very far in a fight, but he sees aplenty when he's scared. What a din. What a variety of hideous noises. A great opera of death. Nicholas Weeks, 3rd Alabama Infantry.
For 5 hours, the fighting raged in the woods around Chancellorsville. For 5 hours, a man fell, killed or wounded, every second. Nearly 18,000 in all.
I had just fired my gun and was lowering it from my shoulder when I felt a sharp sting in my face. I took my knapsack and started to go where the surgeons were located. I felt another stinging pain, this time in my left side just above the hip. Everything went black.
The Confederates charged from column into line and came on, our own men and the artillery warming to their work. The men worked like demons, belching forth a flood of fiery death, and the hills seemed to rock under the thunder of the battery. Great gaps were opened in the enemy's lines by the tornado of shot and shell. They retired into the friendly shelter of the woods, and night, and darkness, and silence drew a curtain of mercy over the fearful scene. Captain Seymour Hall, Staff Officer, 6th Army Corps.
By battle's end, more than 3,000 dead lay in the woods and fields around Chancellorsville. Another 20,000 lay wounded, dozens of miles from the nearest permanent hospital. Gricebull and many others would spend days on the field with virtually no medical care. It would be 10 days before the Union wounded were carried across the Rappahannock.
When we reached the river, we found an eager crowd of civilians waiting our arrival. They had come from the north in search of their relations who were missing and probably killed or wounded. Many turned away quickly. Their stomachs could not stand the pressure. Most of the inquirers looked depressed and downcast, for they had looked in vain. Rice C. Bull.
There are periods in every man's life when the concentrated sorrow and bitterness of years seem gathered into one short day and night of agony. In less than 48 hours, 1/3 of my entire command had been swept away. My own boy brother lay dead on the field.